In this project, we're going to create an entire responsive site, or at least main page. So first thing you want to do is grab the already created HTML file. So if you go to the responsive zip folder here, you can select that and it'll download it. And then you can go ahead and find it, right click and extract it so it unzips it. And there are your files, right? There's your responsive. So you've got an HTML file which looks like this. Okay, just some placeholders, it's just a basic skeleton. You kind of got a right sidebar floating thing, you got a footer, you got some navigation, you have your header and your main content. You're going to need to put in some semantic tags and elements and then just create a responsive site with this. So you're going to come with something like this in the end. Here's one that's already styled, right? You got a big header, you got your navigation, main content, you got a sidebar, and you have a footer. So something along those lines. Now, here's another example, right, of a responsive site. And you can see, after we pull this off of here, if it lets me, come on, you can do it. Holy cow. There we go. It will, it'll flex, right? The images, the navigation changes, the header changes up here. You can see that the images change and then they change sizes. So responsive site. Same thing with this one that I already showed you. It will, at some point, the navigation will collapse. The header changes sizes, the text does, and at some point the sidebar will actually pop down to the bottom and everything stacks up. So you want it to be responsive so it works properly on different devices. So let's jump right into this. If you need some help with some of the things, you can check out Media Queries and the links here. But you're going to want changes to happen at these breakpoints just like we've done in the past. And you're also going to want to update your HTML so that it has all of these semantic tags and elements in it. So let's go ahead into here and right click and open this thing in brackets. So here it is. And let's do that first. Let's go give it our semantic elements and tags. So I'm going to move this over so we can see. So I can see, let's see, I look through this. I don't have my style sheet linked up yet, so that would be helpful. Let's go look in there. It's called responsive.css. That's just a blank sheet. I've got a div here that has my navigation inside of it. So I'm actually going to change that and call it nav. I also want a header, which I don't currently have. So there's my header. Let's see, what should we name it? And let's make it h1 tags. Something like that. So we've got our header, we've got our nav. Beyond that, what else do we need? Our main section. So let's look at this. Oh, we've got our div down here with our responsive site. So we actually don't need this header, but we do need this one. So let's change that to header. Great. We have a div here that says left column. And what's this div for? Just got a spare div. Let's get rid of that. So there, that whole thing is our left column. Okay, great. Let's wrap some main tags around this. So this left column, and it looks like here's our image gallery. These pictures, that'll all be our main content. Great. And then we have this div, which does not seem to close. There it is. See, that's why it's red. I got to put it in the right spot. And there we go. Okay, so that div is right there. That's left column. So that looks like a section. So I'm not going to call that. So I'm going to call this section. And that's the left column. So I'm going to rename this to section. That's section of the site. And just for good measure, let's name this, this image gallery will also be a section. And you can leave the class name the same. And down here we have a sidebar, a floating right thing, it looks like. So that I'm going to name a side, and we'll leave it sidebar is great. We'll call it sidebar. And let's see, we need to rename it down here too. So aside. Great, that's a spare div again. And then down here we got the footer. So let's just rename this. Okay, so we have in essence renamed all of it. So we have our nav section with all of our navigation inside of it. We've got a header section. We've got a main, which encompasses this left column and this image gallery. And then inside that we have a section for the left column, and we have a section for the image gallery. We have an aside, which is going to be our little floating thing to the right, and then we have our footer. So it looks like we're good to go. So next, we're going to just jump into the CSS. So we've got this responsive CSS, so I need to open that up inside of brackets. And just go for it now. So I'm going to launch this so we can see what we're doing. Actually, I guess we're going to be on the HTML. Okay, launch that so we can see what we're doing. And here it is. Okay, no, I don't want to translate that, but let's see what we got over here. So, next part is we're going to jump in here and create the nav section. So we'll come into the responsive, and we're going to come, and I'm going to give these all comments so that we can understand where it is that we're working at the moment, and we can find stuff easily. So let's first work with the nav. We're going to come in here and we're going to say text align, and we're going to center that, right? And let's make sure that we save the index page. There we go. I've saved the index now. Now the changes should be live. I'm going to make it a margin of right, give a little right margin of 40 pixels. So it's pushed off that right side 40 pixels. Great. Next, we're going to do nav ULLI, and let's see. I want to display each of those list items inline, so they stack together. Great. And padding left. I want padding on each of the left sides to be like 12 pixels. And making them inline, I already got rid of this, but just to make sure we get rid of it, let me take inline off for just a second. So there's your bullets. So we can go list, style, type, and we're going to say none for that, and then display once again is inline. So we've got that. It's looking pretty good so far. And then we're going to say nav A, and let's give it a color, and customize your colors however you want. We're going to do font family of impact and font size and text decoration to get rid of those underlines is none. So it's looking good so far. All right, next we need to put a hover state on it. And that will be color. Let's see, 7, 8, B, 8, B. All right, let's see if that actually functions. It does, right? We've got a hover state now that works. Now that we've got the navigation done, let's start working on the header. So let's come over here, and once again, we're going to create another comment, just so we know where we're at in the code. Really helpful to leave yourself notes. And from there, talk to the header section. So we'll give it a height of 300 pixels. Right, so you can see it's a little bigger now. We'll give it a background color of red temporarily, just so you can see it. and give it a background image and URL. I'm going to go, I found something already off the internet, a link, which I'm going to use. Feel free to use whatever you would like. Here's mine. You need to make sure and close that. There we go. Next, I'm going to say, and this completely depends on the size of your background image and what it is, but I'm going to say cover to make mine actually fit inside of that area and scale to size. Then I'm going to say border radius, and we'll give it a 25 pixels to kind of round those edges off. Right, so it looks pretty decent. So there's the whole header section itself. Now I'm going to specifically talk to the H1 that lives inside of the header section. I'm going to give it a color of white, and I'm going to give it a font size, let's say 60 pixels, and font family of impact, and I'm going to text align it center, and what else? I'm going to push it down a bit. Padding on the top is going to be, I don't know, 80 pixels. There we go. That pushes it down. So it's looking pretty decent, right? We've got our navigation here. We've got this. It looks pretty good. Let's keep going. Next, let's work with the main section here. So I'm going to do a new comment. And inside the main, we're going to talk to the left. Let me double check and make sure that I actually named that right. So let's see, down here, yep, we got the left column class. So we're going to talk to the left column, and we're going to give it a width of, say, 74%. All right, you can see what that did. I'm going to float it to the left. Right, and you can see it floated left, so it pulled this up to the right of it. From there, what's next? Padding. Let's go 10. Let's go 10 pixels. Border radius, even though you can't see it. Let's do a border radius for good measure in case we put a color on it in the future. In fact, let's put a color on it for now just so we can see what we're doing. Antique white. And you can see it's kind of rounded and it just sits there. So it's looking okay so far. All right, now let's work with that sidebar that's inside the main section as well. So dot, I think that's how it's called, dot sidebar. Let's double check that. Yeah, dot sidebar, great. And inside dot sidebar, what shall we do? So let's give it a width of 20%, and you'll notice that that is not quite the same, right? So it's not 100%. Add those two together, you got 96, but you got to account for padding and things like that, or else it's not going to fit. So you might have to tweak that slightly. But we got a width of 20%, and we're going to float it. Let's float it to the right, and then let's do some padding here. 10 pixels. Great. You can see a little cushion forms around it. And let's do a border radius on this as well. And a background color for the moment, just so we can see, like I said, what it is that we're doing. Great. Let's close that. We'll come down, actually. Okay. So I think let's work with the image gallery just a bit now. So I'm going to give myself a comment on what I'm working with. And what was it called? I'm pretty sure it's dot, so it's image gallery with a capital G. So dot image gallery. And from there we're going to talk to the images inside the image gallery. So there we go. Any image inside the image gallery. We're going to say width equals 32.6%, right? And you can see that that makes them all fit. They're all less than 100% together, plus a little bit of cushion between them, so they all fit there. So it looks decent, right? You can see my footer's kind of messed up, though. It's floating all around up there, and we'll fix that next. So I'm going to come down. I'm going to give another comment. Put another comment so I know what I'm doing. And we're going to work with the footer now. So I call out the footer. And I'm going to clear the left and right floats that are on both the left column here and the sidebar, so they stop affecting the footer and messing it up. So I'm going to clear both. And you can see the footer's down here on the bottom where it's supposed to be again. I'm going to text align this thing to the center. And background color, I don't know, let's say light gray. Great. Okay, and then we're going to give it some padding as well. All right, so we have, the basic layout of our site. So if I go ahead and take this thing and kind of stretch it around a bit, you'll notice what it does. It sits there. It looks pretty decent. So let's continue on, right? It doesn't really do much. This site's kind of responsive. It flexes, but everything else is not responsive. So let's make it responsive. So we're going to dive right into that now. So like mentioned, you want to put your responsive rules at the bottom of the page. Otherwise, if you put them up here on the top, these can override them. So we're going to come down to the bottom here, make a comment for the responsive rules. And we're going to jump right in. So first one, in fact, let's say responsive rules, and these will be the 1024 rules. That way I know what I'm working with. So we're going to say at media only screen and max dash width 1024 pixels, and then curly brackets and everything. So anytime the browser has a width that is below this, these rules will apply. If it's above it, they will not. And you need to put all those rules in between these two curly braces or brackets. So we're going to, on this, let's just change the image gallery. So the image gallery images, we're going to make, in this case, 49%. Whoops. 49%, right? And you can see those actually change, right, at that size. So as I stretch, they're fitting together, they're just shrinking, and then when I get to here, boom, now they change size, okay? So there's one change, right? Just a small change, and we'll call that good for now. So I'm now going to do another set of rules. And this is going to be for max width of 768. Okay, same thing, at media only screen and max width 768 pixels, and then some curly brackets here, and we'll put all of our rules that'll apply at that size or lower in here. So we're going to say, let's change the nav. So the navigation, we want the nav to be text line center. And let's see what else. In fact, let's change this up a bit. So it's currently centered, my nav. I'm going to put it to the right. There we go, when it's at this size. And then let's make this small enough that we can see what happens. There we go. You can see when I get to that size, boom, it centers. Okay, so we'll center that. Let's see what else. Let's give it a margin of 0. You can see what that does. Okay, let's go below that, do a new selector, new rules. So now I'm going to talk to the links that are inside the nav. I want them to display block. They're currently inline because we made them go in a line. We want them to be blocked, so now they're stacked. And then from there we'll say border. And I need to give it 3 things, remember, size, style, and color. So I'm going to say 2 pixel border, make it solid, and I'm going to give it color, which is going to be that same one, I think, as the links. There we go. Okay, and then we're going to put some padding on it. In this case, we're going to put 2 pixels and by 0 pixels. So that'll affect the top and bottom, and then the left and right. And then we're going to go border radius. Kind of staying with what we've done before here. Do 25 pixels once again. Now it's rounded edges over there on that thing. Let's go margin. And we're going to do 2 pixels by 0 once again. And we're starting to get there. It looks okay. All right, so next, let's do our hover state. So on this size, we want the hover to be a bit different. I don't want this the color of the text to change like it currently does. I would rather have the background color change. And I'm going to have it change to that same color. So 277.076. And let's see how that works right now. The background's changing color. The text doesn't look quite right with it, so I'm going to change the text color to white. And that looks pretty decent. Okay. Just about finished here. Let's talk to the unordered list inside of there. Give it 100%. Padding of 0, right? Which there was some padding over here on the left, which was pushing it over. But that's now gone. Okay. Let's talk to the header. Let's make it a different size, maybe. Because right now it's okay, but... Great. And I'll talk to the left column. And we're going to tell it we want it to take up the full width. So there's no part of it here and then the sidebar over here. We want it to take up the entire width. So you can see that it does. It pushes the sidebar down. And we're going to say we want no float anymore. No float. So it overrides the other float. And now we're going to talk to the sidebar. And we're going to tell it to also be 100% and have no float. Right? And since they're the exact same, we don't actually need to have that twice. It's just redundant. We could just put a comma, put dot, sidebar, and it'll do the same thing for both. And then we could finally talk to the images in the image gallery, and we'll say width. We want you to be 100% at that size. So I save it. Now when I look at this thing, right, at full width, here's what it looks like. And let's scale it down slowly. So we start going down, and you'll notice everything's kind of shrinking. And we get to 1024, and boom, the images change. And then we keep going, we get a little smaller, and then boom, the navigation changes. And the size of this changes. These all change to full width, 100%. If I go down a bit further, right, and the image gallery images didn't work. They should be popping to full size though. Let's see. Image. Oh, I didn't put a dot in front of it, which is why. Right, and now they are all full width, so they take up 100% of the size of the screen at that point. So you're going to do that, right, and then come in and make one more set of changes. For the 480 or whatever the breakpoint is down lower, and just make a couple other changes. You're going to save it. You're going to turn in the same folder with the HTML and CSS, and just right click and put it in a zip folder and turn that in.